to order. Welcome everybody back. We have risen from closed session, and I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the minutes of... Too many motions here in front of me. Excuse me. I have a motion moved by Mark Rapke and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 7:05 p.m. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Mark. And Mark, just ask you to note in the minutes that it was only those matters that we were into closed session were the only matters discussed. Business arising from closed session, take it at this time would be the appropriate time. We're in closed session, and the municipality has been informed that our bid for the Rona building that was in a bankruptcy sale down on Garifraxa at the south end of Durham, that the municipality has purchased the said building and lot, and will be forthwith looking at options on using the facility, the buildings, the office space. One thing that we will be looking at, probably looking at the chief there and thinking to rectify a situation we have with the police has been noted in our annual inspections that the office space for the police is inadequate for today's measurements of police enforcement and accountability for staff. So I think that will be the new place for our new police station. It also offers a lot of space for our public works as well too. I think Ken is eyeing up a few spaces down there for equipment storage that we have stored outside at the present moment. Do we have any other staff that are looking for space at this point in time? No? Okay. The other staff that are looking at it are probably down there now trying to eye up where they want it. And what that does, though, certainly we will have to be looking at fixing and modifying the building itself for the police, and also figuring out, I guess, the vacated space that the police will be leaving on George Street at this point in time. So look forward to that. Make for the summer being a little bit busy for the chief and the building committee that will be struck shortly to look at options there of how we can arrange that for the police. So congratulations, Chief. You've got another duty. I hope you know how to put up drywall. And I think that was all the business out of closed session, Mark. Yep. Yep. Okay, so that's it for closed session. The consent agenda, the consent motion, I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of Council, Municipality of West Grey, held on April 1st, 2013, be approved as printed, and further that the minutes of the West Grey committees A2 be received as circulated, and further that the minutes of other committees A3 be received as circulated. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. There you are, Mark. With that, then that moves us down to communications from Mayor and Council. And I'll defer. Is there any council members have any communications at this point in time? Councillor Lawrence.
Just a reminder that the Homestead Rec Committee, the annual May craft show will be the 4th of May. Sorry about that.
Yes, Bev's not there to turn the mic on for you.
The Recreation Committee of Newstead, their annual Spring Craft Show will be May the 4th, which is before we meet again. So remind everybody, try to drop over. That's one of the big fundraisers for the Newstead Rec Committee. It's in the arena only in the spring.
Very good. Any other communications, updates? For myself, been busy over the last couple of weeks, a number of functions, but one other one that's coming up this Saturday, the Ayton Optimists have their Spring Murder Mystery Dinner Theater. I would encourage all other councillors to come out. I cannot take the full wrath that the actors throw on the elected officials all by myself. I'd like to share some of that with the rest of the elected officials. The fall one, the deputy mayor did join me, and I thank him for taking 50% of that. And I believe Councillor Eccles might have been there too, but he was way in the background and they didn't pick on him at all. Okay. That is also a good evening if somebody can get out. Just like to report, I believe that we still have a small number of residents that are without hydro in West Grey. Very small. From what I understand, there's somewhere between 4 to a half a dozen residents that Hydro One is still working on. But Hydro One did I believe a very good job of getting hydro back on, especially in Normanby, where we had a number of hydro poles down on Highway 6, and it just reminds us that as much as technology, and we want to think that we've advanced, Mother Nature can bring us to our knees very quickly. So thank you to the Ayton Fire Department, who did open up and manned Centennial Hall on Saturday, and I believe again on Sunday for a warming center for some of the residents in Ayton that were without hydro. And that's one of the real concerning things. Half of Ayton had hydro, and knowing Ayton is not a very big town or a big village, the other half, if you were on the right side of the street, you had hydro, and if you were not, you didn't have hydro, and it was about 48 to 60 hours that some residents there were without hydro. So, but the community pulled together and helped them out considerably. So that was very good. Anything else? I don't believe so. I don't have any. Oh, one other thing. On Wednesday, something that has been in the news, there is a, by invitation, the Bruce County and Grey County Federation of Agriculture is having another meeting on the SPCA, and follow up there about what we can do or how we can look at that situation. I know that the police chief has accepted that invitation to be there, and I'll be attending as well to see how we can protect the citizens and enforce the policies that are going to be left by SPCA when they withdraw their services. So I think we are in good hands and have that capability here, that not have the duplicity of two organizations trying to do the same job. So may find some efficiencies there in the end. So look forward to that meeting on Wednesday. And if there's nothing else, no other communications, then we do have a number of delegations this evening, and we're just about 7:15. My timing is pretty good, and I do see Mr. Shepherd's out here. So Luke is on the town line of the Artemesia-Goodell town line up by Irish Lake, and has a concern about speed and traffic control up there. So Mr. Shepherd, thank you for turning the mic on, and the floor is yours.
That's correct. So if you have your agenda package, our little bit starts on the 7th page. If you could have a look at that. We, as a group of 12 households, some of them are represented by the back row here, have identified that there is a rather extreme safety hazard on our twisty, picturesque little bendy piece of road, and we are here before you today to ask that you help us rectify what could be a really dangerous situation. It's a piece of road that has numerous twists and bends. It's a piece of road that is bordered on one side by a lake and a steep embankment with houses on the top. On the other side, there is next to no shoulder, and there are a lot of pedestrians using this area, mostly because it's bordering the lake and it's nice to walk along with your dog, what have you. The problem is that the speed limit is 60, which would be fine if you had clear sight lines and a nice straight piece of road and good shoulders, but we don't have any of that. And people being what they are, they don't do 60, they do 70, they do 80. And with the curves being what they are, if you are traveling along that road, you are going to be tracking to the center of the road. And the road is not very narrow, or not very wide, sorry, to begin with. That puts all of the pedestrians at a rather dangerous situation. We're asking that you drop the speed to 40. We're asking that you make it a community safety zone with fines increased. And we're asking that it happen relatively quickly because spring is upon us and we are going to have lots of little people and seniors trying to cross what is right now a speeding highway to access a lake. I don't know what information more you could want from us. We have a petition, we have a letter, I've sent a bunch of pictures, which I believe you have on your screens. And it's just a safety issue and we need it rectified. And that's about it.
That's, I think that puts it very well. Luke, would you take any questions?
I would love to.
If we have any.
Get them going.
Is there any questions for Mr. Shepherd at this point in time? Renee, do you have any questions or comments or thoughts?
Not right at the moment.
Is some of the visibility, I'll maybe break the ice here, some of the visibility to do with brush or trees?
No,
that are
it's
on the
really
curves?
the topography. So when you're doing this, there's just no way around it. You're looking at something that is, you've got this double blind curve. If you're in the center of that curve, doesn't matter where you are on it, you can't see around. You can't see. So you might have a 30-foot vision, maybe. I would say that that was good if you were saying that you could see 30 feet in either direction from any point in that curve. That's not enough for anybody doing 60, if they were. Let's say they're doing 70 and be honest about it. That's not enough for anybody to come to a stop, to avoid children, to avoid a pedestrian, to avoid a car coming the other direction. It's just, it's not a safe area due to the topography and how the road lies next to the lake. So if you wanted to fill in part of it and straighten it out, that would be a rather expensive way to fix it, but that would do it.
You're suggesting that we put another lane in there so it's a passing lane? Is that what you're saying?
No. It's just that
Yeah.
it just gets very narrow. There's no real shoulders. There's no place for a pedestrian to get out of the way. And people, like I said, people being what they are, nobody does the speed limit. So, you know, if you want them to do 50, you lower it to 40.
I guess the only reason I said I was up there had a meeting in Markdale on Saturday.
Right,
And
yeah.
I took the road going both ways, and
Yeah.
I wondered if some of that cedar brushing would help a little bit with the visibility.
Well, maybe on one little piece, but it doesn't do much for the whole thing.
There's no problem.
What we're talking about is directly across the lake, like directly across from the lake. We're not talking about the whole zone, which is 60 right now. That's a 2-kilometer stretch. We're talking about a 0.8 of a kilometer stretch that is right in front of this concentration of homes. So we're all kind of cheek by jowl. It's almost like a city block. We're close. It's not your average spacing for the municipality, I would guess. So we're more like a small village than a rural tract. Mm-hmm. And with the spacing what it is and the number of driveways that there are and the visibility being what it is with no real way to rectify it that I can see unless you take down every single tree, I think given the amount of pedestrian traffic that is on that road, it warrants being a safety zone.
Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, Yeah, I frequent that area quite a bit, and I know what you're up against. And
Yeah.
after policing that area for a number of years, it is a dangerous stretch of road, and I do support your request.
Thank you.
I think, though, coming off concession 6, something could be done there with the cedars that are growing out in that corner on Irish Lake Road on that northwest corner.
You mean just at 6 there? Louis, that's your end, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you thinking?
I don't think it's the trees, it's the hill. And
Yeah,
the
definitely.
bends that really make it.
Because when you come over that hill, you're dropping into the zone, and people
Yeah.
are flying over that thing.
And I
Right on
agree.
the other side of that is that boat
Yeah,
launch.
and I agree, they do travel at high speeds throughout that.
They do.
That road, it's a hard top right through, and.
It's nice
they
and
just
straight
fly and-
until you get to where we are.
Yeah, and as I said, I've read your package, I've looked at the photos and know the area quite well. I've
Good.
been there quite a bit.
Thank you.
I was there again on Saturday, and it is, and I suggest we look at making the changes to that area, because it is, somebody's going to get hurt. There's a lot of people walk that area. There's a gentleman on the corner that has his horse and his wagon out there all the time. That's you, is it? Okay, I've never had the opportunity to meet you, but I know you travel that road quite a bit, and I do believe there's going to be a problem there.
Yeah, I'm really concerned that there are a lot of visitors to that stretch. Some of the houses are rented out in the summer. People that don't know any better are going to come running down their driveways and head for the lake, and they're the ones that are going to get it. There's also a letter within this package that I didn't write. That's from Tom Osborne. He's been living there for 14 years, and he has documented a few unreported accidents. So if you turn to that page, you've got a little bit of something there to go on. It's just been a long-standing problem, and I guess we've never come together to try to rectify it. So that's what we're doing now. And we're hoping that you will agree with us and grant us some reprieve from the speed zone this summer.
Okay, do we have, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, Chief. We will have the number of accidents that have been there, that have been reported. That's the one thing about rural Ontario. If you got a four-wheel drive truck or a tractor, they don't need to be reported.
You take a look at
lot.
those guy wires and you tell me how many things have hit them.
That's on the Grey Highland side. I didn't bother looking at that.
All right then.
Sorry, Luke. But, yeah, very much agreeable with you. And well, Chief, do you have something you want to say now?
Well, yeah, certainly I can do some research with respect to how many accidents we've had in that area. I guess really why I'm here is, I might as well bring it up now, is unless the municipality, unless council wants to deal with it right now, I came waiting for direction, as I have in the past, to submit a report to council for their consideration. I know Mr. Sheepers had indicated though he'd want one as soon as possible. You've seen the detail of my reports and things like that with respect to these requests, so it takes a little bit of time. And with the way my schedule is right now, I wouldn't hope to have a report back to council before the end of May.
That's going to put us right in the middle of the danger zone.
Well, I think that, the way spring is going, I'm not certain it will be.
Well, we'll still be ice
there.
fishing.
Yep. I would suggest that we do wait for the chief to bring it forward. We'll see if I can squeeze him, talk to the chair of the board, the Police Services Board, and see if we can squeeze a little bit closer or something of that nature. But it does sound like we do have support
Good.
for looking at that.
It should just be
and
noted,
options.
too, that when I went knocking on doors, it seemed that every door I knocked on, people were like, yes, we have to do this. So out of every house represented on that road, there was not one person who would say, no, we don't need that. Everybody says that it's an issue and that it's a big, bad accident waiting to happen. And it just hasn't so far, so.
Well, we should be proactive instead of
Exactly.
reactive to the situation, so.
So then what should we expect? Should we expect to come back, or should we expect to hear from you by?
I would say the best thing would be that no need for you to come back, you'll be able to hear from us. I think we have a Director of Public Works that lives up pretty close to there, and maybe he wants to say something at this point in time too. Yeah, he does.
Just that this is a town line, and we'll have to get certainly permission from municipality of Grey Highlands to make any changes to speed or whatever on that road, and they do provide the maintenance on that road, so if there's trees to be cut, that would have to go through them too, so it's just not a matter of West Grey. Given the okay, we have to go through Grey Highlands to
Yeah,
Get that.
I'm aware of that one too. I did speak to some people who said that they would follow the lead of West Grey, should it come down the pipes, but it's got to come down the pipes, so.
All right. Thanks for that, Ken, and I guess, you understand, to be able to coordinate this back and forth.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you in short order of
So
what the plan of
we're
attack
hoping
is.
for the police chief's report by the end of May kind of thing, and then we'll go from there.
Unless we can squeeze it out of them a little
I'll leave
bit
that up to you,
quicker.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Don't usually do this, but I am going to say,
Louis Real.
Louis,
The
thank
other
you.
Until that happens, could we have that road patrolled a little more often?
That can be done very quickly.
We do
Yes.
notice that as a group of people living there, it's, time of day is morning rush hour and evening coming back, and I don't know exactly where they're going to or coming from, but it's a direct route to somewhere, and they're using it.
Probably over to Eugenia to buy cheese or something.
I don't think so. I don't think it's to me. All right, thank you for your time.
Okay, we will, Chief, I think you got one more.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this gentleman here, that last year we did address a number of complaints, and we did sit up there, including myself, running radar up there for a number of hours. The issues of speed weren't really of any concern in the curves. It was on that straight stretch just north of the curves that we were getting all the speeders, but certainly I'll put up visibility. I'll make sure there's more visibility there in the interim. I mean, the weather's getting nicer, so the guys can go up there. In fact, we have we have what we call the LiDAR, which is a laser speed measuring device, and I'll get it out there too.
Do you have one of those things that tells the driver how fast they're going?
Yes, we do.
Oh, is that the thing? Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Gould and I talked about that today as well.
Perfect. That would help.
Yep.
All right.
So
Thank you
we'll
very
get-
much.
We'll get that piece of technology out there, and we'll get a couple of the best-dressed police cars in Canada
They're very pretty.
out there for,
And I would say, though, that the morning rush hour and somewhere between, what do you think it is, Louis, between 3 and 5?
4, yeah, around 4.
Yeah, it's quite notable. It's,
okay, well, the chief has that, and then we'll look forward to the report coming as well, too, and probably some of that will be with the increased presence out there, as long as the media doesn't get it out there and the people are sensitive to it.
don't tell them.
But that'll give us an indication, too, of,
Yeah.
maybe where the timing of the problems are.
Yeah,
where
it's
the
weekdays
traffic's
more
coming
so
from.
than anything else.
Okay.
But thanks for your time.
All right, thank you very much, Luke. Appreciate that. And thank you for bringing us up to date. Okay. We are just about 7:30, and I believe Mr. Ringrose has got here. Our second delegation this evening, we have 3. Our second one, Dave Ringrose. And Dave, I'm going to turn. If you can use the podium, the microphone is over there. I believe it's a black button that you got to hit.
Right side.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thanks for making time.
See that little microphone?
Right-hand side.
Yeah. We need to.
And when it turns red, you've got to hit right button.
All right, we're set. Thanks for having me here tonight, folks. Real tragedy in Boston tonight. I just found out here over the last hour. A wee bit of concern. There are some local people that are in the marathon. In fact, the principal from the Dundalk School was in the run. And at the moment, we were watching his progress, and all of a sudden, that electronic monitoring device came to an end. So we're quite worried that he might have been involved. Anyway, where do I begin? Folks, I'm here over bylaw number 51 for 2011, and if you take a look into section 3.5, it has to deal with the use of a septic system at residential property. We took possession of our property in September, and the municipality requested that the septic field be inspected, and that there was a change of use. And if you take a look into your user fees for 2011, it was set at $100. We received a bill for $300 to have Les McKinnon come out, take a look at the tanks, advise us that we needed an outlet filter. It was about, 15 minutes worth of interaction, and that was it. We received a notice in the mail, we complied, and, between having the system pumped, filter on, and that was less than what it cost to have the system inspected. And that's why I'm here tonight. I called around just to see the surrounding municipalities to see what their fees were. $100 seems to be the going rate if there was to be an inspection. Having spoke to the building inspectors, it's a matter of interpretation. And what it comes down to is this. If a building inspector goes to your property, Mr. Mayor, and sees that you're putting an addition on and really has no concern that there's going to be any adverse effect on the septic field that is on your property, then there's really no need to request an inspection. It's a discretionary issue. However, if you take a look into the bylaw, it says, well, it shall be done. It's a matter of interpretation, in my opinion. I mean, there are some things that are black and white. I mean, the fact of the matter is, on many days, your license plate is probably covered up with snow. The law says that it should be clean, visible. How many people make the effort? How many people make the effort to properly clean their windshields? And I guess that's what it comes down to. For the simple fact of process, I'm paying $300 or requested to pay $300 for somebody to come over, literally take a look, say, yep, everything looks good here. You're on file with the health unit, you're on file with us. Your septic field is of the size required for a full active household. That's why I bought the property, because I had confidence in the septic field that was in the ground. I knew what was there, I knew what I was buying. So what I'm going to ask or request or have you consider is that this whole process of having a person designated to come out to a property to inspect a septic field that is already approved by the municipality, on file with the county, that we put a little more thought into it rather than just sending somebody out there so that there isn't a $300 bill received in the mail. I honestly believe it was uncalled for. And without dropping names to the building inspectors from the surrounding municipalities of Southgate, Grey Highlands, and Chatsworth, when I share the same information, I mean, I basically have their support to say, yeah, I think that was unnecessary. Worst case scenario would be $100 if it happened here in Grey Highlands. I don't expect the municipality or the tax ratepayers here in West Grey to subsidize anything that's going on in my property. However, speaking on behalf of anybody that's going to be dealing with this down the road, I don't think anybody should be getting nicked a $300 bill just as a matter of process. That there's the interpretation of the situation, because everyone has its own set of unique circumstances. That being, if Mr. Mayor, you're putting an addition on your residence. There's no additional pressure going on to your septic field. There is no additional plumbing, toilets, or anything else that's going to cause you any concern. Then there shouldn't be a need for an inspection to be conducted. I would hope that you can see my point in this regard. I reviewed the Ontario Building Code that, in regards to the size of the residence, the size of the build, that dictates size of the septic field and so on. So there are compliance issues. I was well within that, well under it, as far as the square footage of the addition that I had put on my home. And not to drag this out, relatively speaking, it's a small bill, but it's the point of the matter. That, and in my initial letter to the municipality to say, relative to the effort put in to tell me that I need a septic filter on the outflow, how many people in this municipality, how many people in this county are clearing $300 a day in income after a day's work, let alone for somebody to come to your property for 15 minutes, kick around some dirt, say, yeah, do this, do that, when the reality of the matter is I had Wilton come out to my property, Doug Wilton, pump it, put a filter on for less than it cost to get the advice to put one on. And it's a principle of the matter. That's why I came here to speak with you tonight, and hope that I could get some input back from you.
Well, at this time, I thank you very much for bringing this to council's attention. We certainly do look at the fees and charges that the municipality has and how they are implemented. What I can say, from my perspective, do some investigation with staff on that, where we're at. We have a committee of the whole meeting, Mark, not this coming, but the 29th of April, would allow council time to digest and formulate an opinion on what you've brought forward to us and how we can go forward with this. That's what I'm going to say, unless there's other council members have any questions at this point in time. Now, we do have your contact information, email, and...
Well, thanks, Mr. Mayor. What I'd like to do is just leave a copy and these are available actually at our neighbor's website, Softley Municipality. You can see here a septic review over in Grey Highlands is $100 if it were to be required. And as I say, it should be a matter of interpretation when I speak to our friends, other building inspectors, and say, well, under some circumstances, we just wouldn't bother. So, I mean, it's not being viewed as a gouge. And again, maybe I'm way off base as far as my interpretation of this is concerned, but I'm hoping that you do spend a few minutes just to take a look at it, just to review it.
I think, and as I said, we'll have a report from staff at that point in time on the next upcoming committee of the whole meeting. We can have a thorough discussion on that, and if we can have a copy of the information you have there, we'll put together a report for the committee of the whole at that point in time to have a thorough discussion once council has a chance to digest what you've put forward here this evening. Because I would hate to make a response and just a knee-jerk response instead of doing some thorough investigation whether we are way off on what actually happened there in this case.
Oh, that's very fair, and okay. I do appreciate your time on the matter.
Appreciate you bringing it forward to us, because would rather us have that discussion face-to-face than and come up with whether there can be a resolution or a solution to that, than spend the next 2 weeks at the coffee shop kicking it around down there, where sometimes it doesn't come to any good resolve when it's there.
Fair enough.
Okay, all right. And as I said, if you got the papers, you can just bring them up and to help staff be able to put that together. Mark here will. Thank you very much, Dave. Okay. Now, our next delegation is at 7:45, but I can see the members are here. And Scott, if you're, Mr. Patterson, if you're willing to take 5 minutes, and probably what it'll mean is that Mr. Davidson's not here. Our planner will start. I'll wait, Mark? Or?
It's usually right on. It's about time or it's like, might want to wait a few minutes.
Can we give him a few minutes? Okay. Does council want to just stretch for a few seconds, and we'll wait until our planner gets here? And if he's not here in 3 minutes, then we'll start without him then. Thanks, Scott. And Scott, I apologize, the 3 minutes turned into 6 minutes, but sometimes it's like herding cats here. You let them out of the bag and it's very difficult to get them back in, but you have our full divided attention at the present moment. And welcome, Mr. Davidson. Ron's got, yep, you do have your name tag up there. And Scott, you want to talk about development lands, I believe, or planning issues?
Yes. My name is, sorry?
I'll turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
My name is Scott Patterson. I'm a planning consultant with LaBreche Patterson and Associates out of Kitchener. And represent Mr. Jim Magwood and Mr. Orland Magwood and their families. I've sent a letter to the municipality. Some of you have probably seen it. And I've had discussions previously with Mayor Eccles and appeared before County Council, and I believed it was time that I should finally come to be before you tonight and just have a quick conversation as well, put a face to the name, and just have a conversation about the Hanover West Grey secondary plan process. I believe it's fair to say that everyone around that side of the table understands the position or the stance that the Magwood family has put forward, that they do not wish for their lands to be redesignated at this time. They simply wish to continue farming those lands. And we have some significant concerns with the provisions of the secondary plan and the policies that we put forward and how those policies may impact their operations and their ability to do that. I fully understand. I've read the report. I have various concerns with it. I won't go into them all in detail. Our concerns typically have always revolved, and I've expressed this to County Council as well, that in order for the lands to be designated and be feasible for the town of Hanover to be developed, they need to be developable lands, and the Magwood lands simply are not. So to meet a policy of achieving developable lands until 2026, we're unsure how that is possible or can be done when the Magwood lands are just simply not available or not included. And at present, under the current situation, the available lands that the Magwoods own is roughly 46% of the lands that are being contemplated. So 46% of the lands are not available. It would seem that it's just not a realistic approach or how we do this. The staff or the report that was prepared speaks to the Magwoods' ability to continue to farm their lands for the near or distant future, and that is correct. I fully recognize that. The biggest concern we have with that is that when you read further in the report or you go to a different section, there's maps that show roads crossing their lands. There's paragraphs that discuss the extension of services into their lands, the extension of 22nd Street. All of these things are naturally worrisome to the Magwoods and cause great concern going forward. And we recognize that there is a full public process forthcoming. We intend to be involved in that to the greatest extent possible. To be candid, we wish we were involved more in the process to date. We may never come to an agreement, and we fully recognize that. It just would have been nice or maybe appropriate to include us in the discussions to discuss this going forward to see if there was something we could do. If there was position we could take where there was some reassurances provided to the Magwoods that they could be on their lands indefinitely, that roads would not be extended across their lands or infrastructure or anything like that. If that was in place, I probably wouldn't be here today. I can't guarantee that, but chances are we'd have a much better position. But going forward, based on the direction that I see this heading and the position that I know my clients are in and their wishes, I think it's going to be a process that we're heavily involved in, and it's going to be a long process. So I just wanted to appear tonight and hopefully have a discussion with you about this. Like I said, I'm sure you are all well aware of the position that the Magwoods have stated. And we're just trying to reconcile and deal with this issue that we continue to say that our lands are not available for development, but that continues to be overlooked. And it's frustrating on our part. It's frustrating to open a report and see roads going across property that they hope to farm for forever because it's generational family. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and field them. Or like I said, I know there's a public meeting probably coming up soon, so maybe we can do that at that time as well. But I just wanted to come tonight and have that discussion.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I'm going to open it up as you've requested, whether there are any questions, thoughts at this point in time from any council member. Certainly through, the one thing I will say, in the discussions leading up to where we are right now, from my standpoint, it's always been that no matter what designation is on the Magwood property, that would do everything in my power to maintain that the Magwoods would be farming on that property. It is my understanding that it really doesn't indicate what the zoning or what the indication is on the property. It's what the property owner wants to do and continue to do with that property, that it is still their decision whether they want to continue farming on it. The designation doesn't change what or how the operation as it stands today will be able to continue on. And I think in a planning perspective, I'm correct in that the designation doesn't impede the operation that they are doing right now and would continue to do. So from my perspective, that's what we've always tried to garner. Okay? Ron, did you have any comment or? Not at this time? But
No,
you are turning the mic on. Go ahead.
Yeah, in a couple of minutes, I'll be going over, giving council a brief update as to where we're at with this. I'm not sure if you want me to respond to anything that's been raised, or I'll just, through you, Mr. Mayor, if you've got a question for me, fire ahead.
No, that's fine. And yeah, we do expect shortly here to bring that forward, Ron. We'll do that. Great. So is there any other, well, Scott's at the podium. Any questions at this point in time? We may have a couple here coming up then. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Scott, for putting the ideas and thoughts of your client before us. Okay? We'll deal with Ron. We got Ron at the microphone. So, Ron, we were looking for basically a council update of where we are on the, if council, yes, I guess if council's okay with having Ron start now? Yep. Okay, Ron, you're going to give us kind of a Reader's Digest version or an update on where we're at with the process planning here on the West Grey Hanover
Sure.
development lands.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yeah, I'll try to be I may be as brief as Scott is here in giving a brief update as to where we stand. If you recall, or yeah, as you will recall, probably 6 or 7 weeks ago, I stood before council and gave you a summary of where we were at that point. And where we were at that point was a We had recrunched the numbers, those numbers being a report or a series of reports and addendums that the group IBI Planning had prepared about a year ago. At that time, they were working for Hanover and not for Hanover and West Grey. The province had said that we must update those numbers to reflect a planning horizon to the year 2026 and not 2031, because the 2026 reflects the planning horizon of the county official plan, and they didn't want a secondary plan or a subcomponent or a component of the county official plan having a longer lifespan than the main mother document itself. So as a result, the numbers that IBI had presented were shrunk, and I presented those to you guys again 6-7 weeks ago. Since then, I've come up with an actual amendment that we're in a position where, with council's support, we'll be presenting it or making a formal request to the County of Grey Planning Department. We have the application form signed, and Christine Robinson has given me the check for the county, so we're ready to forge ahead. Before we do that, or before we want to do that, I wanted to just send out my draft official plan amendment and my draft planning report that went along with it to West Grey and Hanover for sort of a last kick at the cat in terms of my draft report, and again, the draft official plan amendment, and that's why we're here tonight. So I'm not here with any new information in terms of how much land we're looking at. We have more details if you've read the secondary plan in terms of the specific policies. And included in your report also is the implementing zoning bylaw amendment that your own council, your council will be dealing with at some point in the future as well. That's generally it in a nutshell. Once I again hear from council and your staff and your counterparts at Hanover, I will be filing the application to the county.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Any questions of Ron about that report, the draft report, and that's certainly what it is still yet. In that, any questions of Ron while he is right here? Just a question that Mr. Patterson brought up. Is it possible to submit that report with the roadways that are proposed or were shown across the Magwood properties removed?
Well, I'm not going to try to kid anybody in the room. It certainly would have been a lot easier to sell, presumably, with the Magwood family with that removed. The problem is there's a policy in the official plan as put in through official plan amendment number 80, and that deals with, well, that policy is a fallout or as part of the agreement or the minutes of settlement between Hanover, West Grey, and the County of Grey Planning Department. In order for us to move forward with a secondary plan, we have to address a number of issues, and one of those things to address was the long-term servicing and transportation network. So if we removed it from the secondary plan, I don't think we would be addressing all of the policies that we're supposed to be addressing. And I obviously can see how it causes some concern with Mr. Magwood, because you're right, the question was asked about his long-term use of the property, and Mr. Patterson made reference to the fact that yes, he can continue to farm his land, but not trying to put words in Mark's mouth, but he may be farming smaller parcels should the two municipalities decide to put a series of roads through there. Now, presumably, some of those roads would not be constructed until such time as somebody actually wanted to do something with the Magwood property, because those roads would serve no purpose. But, you know, I have been involved in some meetings with Hanover and West Grey where it's, I don't think it's any secret, certainly at some point in the future there are going to have to be some arterial roads constructed in that area.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, I think. Any other questions? thoughts at this point in time? If there are none, and it doesn't seem that there are,
It's a recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee.
the Planning Advisory Committee discussed this a week ago. Yeah, a week ago today. Thank you, Mark. Without electricity, sometimes you lose track of a day or two. And it was from that committee that it was recommended that a resolution comes forward to council to support making the application for a secondary plan. Mark has that resolution here, and if there are no other questions, I'm wondering, does somebody want to put their name to move this onto the floor? I'll pass it one way or the other and find out whether we can get it onto the floor or not. Go ahead, John. While I'm looking for you, just wanting to ask a question.
Thanks. Ron, could
Ron?
you maybe just give a small explanation of the term leapfrogging of property, just for some people that may or may not be clear of that?
Sure. Well, generally speaking, when you're expanding an urban area, you want to do it in a manner where you've taken your existing urban boundary and you've expanded it in what would seem to be a logical manner, as opposed to forgetting about some lands and just bypassing them and showing on a map lands beyond that. So it's just your leapfrogging is a term I think we used to use when we were kids, but it's essentially that. You're jumping over lands that should be developed first. Now that works, may work on paper, or at least that's what we're showing here, that we're trying not to leapfrog. At the end of the day, again, if the Magwoods are not developing their land, in theory, it's possible, but it would look like there's going to be a hole there, if you will. We'll have the existing urban boundary, and then you'll have some Magwood lands that aren't developed, and then you'll have lands beyond that maybe will be developed. The good news, though, I suppose, if there's good news through this, is that the servicing isn't leapfrogging. The servicing is coming down from the north as well as from the west. The servicing exists right now, I believe, at the liquor store at the corner of 10th or 4th and 28th. And so it's not like the municipalities and the developers will have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get to the first developable property. The servicing is already there, so presumably it would cost relatively very little to develop the first piece in this area. I think that I answered more than maybe what you had asked, but I wanted to answer that question from both a leapfrogging, that question about leapfrogging in terms of on paper or in theory, and then what actually is going to occur. And I thought that throwing in water and sewer as part of that explanation would help.
And just one more clarification, this is not the first time this has happened in Ontario, where in fact development has gone around good farmland. And the farmland has been able to carry on as their present enterprise is for as long as they want it to go.
I can only make presumptions on that. I haven't worked outside of Grey and Bruce County to any significant extent, but I do know, I've been doing this for 23 or 24 years, I do know the Planning Act and case law and OMB hearings, rulings, and I'm well aware of the fact that we cannot put up the proverbial gun to someone's head and say, you're going to sell your lands and use them for commercial purposes or open space purposes.
And I think that alleviates a few concerns here around the table maybe, and I do know that that has happened in a lot of other areas. I know there's a spot on 7 Highway and 50 that there's 100 acres there that's still actively being farmed, and there is urban development all around it.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's some very good land around Kitchener that I know also has houses all around it, and it's being actively farmed. And I do know that until such time that those people want to say, shall we say, sell their land or do something else with it, I mean, it will continue to be actively farmed and shall stay that way.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Mayor, just to elaborate on that, I guess just looking locally at the Magwoods' existing situation where, and I was not involved in the process a number of years ago, but they already have some of their frontage along 10th Street or 4th Avenue within the urban boundaries of Hanover. Those lands are designated for highway commercial use, but they are used for farming. And moving more eastward towards Durham, then you'll see what has happened since then in the last 10, 15, 20 years. So that right in Hanover, I guess, with the Magwoods property itself is maybe a good example, albeit somewhat of a small example, but still an example of what you're talking about, Councillor Bell.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Councillor Eccles. John?
This no way affects their tax rate. We're just, it'll be a zoning change only, and the tax rate will stay effectively what it is today.
If that's a question to me, I'm just the planner.
It's a question to the lady beside you, and yeah, I think it is a yes.
Change.
It doesn't change the taxing. It's taxed on land use, not on
Yeah,
zoning.
as long as you're still satisfying the farming income and components that you need to fall in that category, that would still be the FT farming rate.
Councillor Molson. Dave? Use that microphone, thank you.
Yeah. Ron, is there any reason why the Magwood property here, this appears to be behind the other area, appears to be about the same. Is there any reason why this cannot be used? Sorry, this is yours, I stole it. It's this property here, instead of the Magwoods.
Property to the east of where the shoppers.
Yeah.
So east of the Orange area?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the Magwoods own that as well.
As well?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be benefiting it.
All you've got is lot 11. At the end of the day, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, to interrupt, but for
No, go ahead.
clarification, the only thing you have here, if you don't have Magwood lands, is lot 11. That's all you've got. That's the only thing you've got. And who's going to develop the back end of lot 11? All you've got.
Until you get further east to the,
Long way east.
yep, basically to New Heights. I think it's Brian Hawk's land.
The only thing you have right now is lot 11. What commercial enterprise in their right mind is going to locate at the back end of lot 11? We're talking commercial enterprises. They need people.
And that, if it's not available, to be absolutely none. If it's available and they still don't want to develop, then it stays exactly the way it is today. The same as the Magwood Farms will stay today, is exactly the way they are 50 years from now as being farmland by your grandchildren.
So you haven't accomplished anything, you haven't addressed anything.
And that's a possibility, absolutely. But I guess in the end, we'll see whether we've tried or not. To be able to accomplish the needs of the area for development, commercial development land, and to try to figure out a way to satisfy Magwood Farms to continue on with theirs. As I've given my word, we've always are looking at that.
How long is council, and again, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm giving you the right. Go ahead, Jim.
I think council should come to the realization that our position has been steadfast and uniform for over 34 years on this. That's not going to change. And we make this decision realizing that we're not going to quit here and give up, throw up our hands. We will continue. I'm very disturbed by the fact that Mr. Mr. Davidson has commented that there will be arterial roads. That seems to run contrary to the sentiments of council to hope that the Magwitts would continue to want farming uninterrupted. You don't punch a road through some of the finest farmland in southern Grey County and expect there to be no repercussions from it.
Jim, you've known, well, if I can, Mr. Mayor, Jim, you've known me for a long time. When this whole process started, I made it very clear I would never be part of any expropriation of any lands. And I sit on West Grey Planning and I sit on Grey County Planning, and I'm only one voice. But I would make it jump up and down very high and make it very loud and clear that that would never be a part of it. That isn't part of it. That isn't what farming's about. You know that, and I know that, and I know your father knows that, and the next generation knows that. You can't kick somebody off their land. They did that 400 years ago in Europe, and I mean, that's why everybody came here. But that doesn't happen now. So there is no way, and yes, I know the lands have been identified as coming across your land, but there's no way that can happen without so much as you even say yes. And that's maybe when it might happen. But they have to jump through some more hoops before they'd ever have to do that.
And I realize that, and I'm going to
I would never allow that to happen in my power, Jim. I can honestly tell you that.
Very good.
That's fair. Thank you.
John, Councillor Eccles.
I just want to put my name on the list of Mayor and Deputy Mayor Bells. I'm not about to support putting roads across your farmland.
services as well. Because
Yes, absolutely. One goes hand in hand with the other.
Okay. All right, any other questions? I do have a motion that's been moved and seconded in front of me. At this point in time, I'm going to introduce it. I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the draft planning report by Ron Davidson, Land Use Planning Consultants, Inc., and authorizes staff to submit the corresponding official plan amendment to the County of Grey and the processing the implementating West Grey zoning bylaw amendment as recommended by the West Grey Planning Advisory Committee. Process the implementing of West Grey zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you, Mark. You get into those multiple syllable words and I get lost. Any questions on the motion on the floor? I'll call.
No, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Carol.
I just, speaking about that expropriation and so on, that one road that's shown there, I'm sure, leads into the area of the new high school, where the high school is being planned. Now, is it West Grey only that can stop expropriation, or can Hanover cause an expropriation there?
It would be in West Grey land, so I believe it would. It's going to be West Grey that the application. If there was a municipal application for expropriation, it would have to come from West Grey, not from Hanover.
That would be my concern.
Yeah.
There. Because I don't want to see roads going across there. So that's, yeah.
Well, no, they wouldn't be able to go across. That's the first time that word has come out this evening, is expropriation, but it would have to be implemented by West Grey. We already have 3 members of a 9-member council that have publicly said they're not in support of expropriation.
Well, make it 4.
There's 4.
I wouldn't agree with it either. But,
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Don, Councillor Marshall.
I guess I hear a lot of concern in the Magwitts' voice out here, and they've been dealing with Ontario Hydro, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years or maybe more. And I think that we can say all we want here today, but things change very quickly. and the rules change very quickly, and it could happen that the next council that comes and sits at this table might say they need that access across your land. So I hear your concerns.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor of the motion as presented? Any opposed? I'll declare the motion carried. What this will start is a very active public consultation period. I believe, Scott, and from what I have heard, and yes, and I don't, at this point in time, I don't believe that Hanover has moved to make that, because it'll be a secondary plan that we're doing between the two municipalities. Has Hanover passed theirs yet? Ron, do you know for sure?
No, I was speaking with their CAO, Mike Dunlop, today. I don't know if they're taking it to council or if they're just going to, at a staffing level, just give it the nod. As you may or may not know, they've had some staffing issues in the last couple of weeks, and one of the gentlemen that was sitting on the working committee, or from time to time with us anyways, Don Tedford, has been out of commission for a couple of weeks and will be for at least a few more weeks. So I don't know if that kind of that'll delay things for 3-4 weeks. Not exactly sure.
Okay, thanks for that update, Ron. All right. The motion has been passed. Thank you, Ron, for coming down and giving us an update on that and where we're at. And Jim and Arland and Scott, look forward to the dialogue and seeing if we can, from what you mentioned tonight, Scott, and speaking for you, that there may be some resolution here, mitigation or acceptance for this if certain things can be put into place around this secondary plan. Or maybe it dies on the vine at Grey County too. Both those options are there, so we'll look forward to more public dialogue on it. So thank you very much for the delegation and deputation, and take care. Okay. Sure, let's, if with council's direction, we do have our CBO, and before we bring forward the zoning bylaw on the trailer licensing, media's not worried about it, so probably nobody else will be. Mark, I guess we can bring that, if council is okay with that, we'll bring it forward. And Brian, do you want to stay, Ron, or? Right there, right there, right there.
We're on camera.
Oh, don't be scared of the media out there. Yeah, very good. Okay. Just to be in time with our staff and whatnot, I've asked that we move this point up. If there's any discussion on the trailer zoning bylaw aspect that's coming forward to council, Brian is here. It's through his department. Any staff questions? So I'm gonna open it up at this point in time. It was recommended by Planning Committee that we make this amendment to our zoning going forward. So all of council certainly doesn't sit on planning. Is there any other questions, or since a week ago when we had planning? Any questions or comments for Brian? Rob, Councillor Thompson.
I just wondered, Mark, did that correction in the bylaw be made? Is it, we were talking this morning there, after temporary, should have had the word use in the bylaw?
Yeah, there was one word missing in the section 6.39 provision in section 2. Just the second line, occupation for temporary, and I think it should say temporary use. So that was one correction to the bylaw at this point.
And that'll be noted when it comes time to put it onto the floor. Any other questions or comments for Brian on this? Don, Councillor Marshall.
I guess it's not to do with the zoning, it's to do with the bylaw itself, but the $1,000 fee, we heard the other day at planning about the one lady said that she had vacant land and they have a trailer out there and they weren't paying $300 for taxes for their property, they were paying $1,900. And I know there's going to be a lot of different scenarios out there, and different tax rates of different properties. $1,000 doesn't seem like much on a $300 property, but $1,000 more on a $1,900 property seems excessive. So I'm just wondering if that $1,000 is the appropriate rate, or if that could be negotiated lower. I just don't know, Brian.
Go ahead. Brian,
And I think as I, I stated before that, it was an arbitrary number when we looked at a number of different factors. I do think it's fair when you look at, and we've had support, and, we've had opposition, but when you look at what we were trying to accomplish, which was give them an option other than just going to a campground. And if you look at most campground fees, like I know what I pay, it's $1,700, $1,800, a year plus my utilities, and then plus some other incidentals. Most of the campgrounds, I think, Ken pays $2,000+. So when we looked at it, even if they were paying, $1,000, I did have an opportunity to speak to the resident that brought that forward afterwards. It was actually 85 acres that her trailer's on. She hasn't done anything with respect to a managed forest or applying for an agricultural rebate or anything of that nature. So I made her aware of that. We made her aware of that, actually, and so that she was going to look into it, so that she would have an opportunity to reduce that current tax that she, and again, it's just more through that education. So to answer your question, I think for the time being, because we are going to track it, we will bring back a report next year. But based on the expenses against the other side, which is going to be, there is going to be some enforcement costs, like with the ones that don't comply. And really what we were trying to make sure is that we want to make sure that we're offsetting those costs, because as soon as we get into summonses and we either have to take somebody to court or hire somebody to remove a trailer, because we will. Now we have a bylaw that can be enforced with a compliance alternative. We're going to have some expenses associated to that. And currently, if I just went out and enforced the zoning component, we don't have that ROI or anything there to support the actual expense against it. It's just a straight expense that's coming out of the taxpayers' pockets. So that's really what I'm hoping, that there's a balance there. And I do believe for this point in time, I think it's a fair assessment.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Any other questions or comments for Brian at this point in time? We'll deal with the bylaw when we get there. Rob? Councillor
Yeah, I was just going to follow up on Councillor Marshall's comments. It is a fair whack for anybody that's paying out $2,500 in property taxes and so on and so forth, to put out another $1,000. I'd like to ask that bylaw be amended to reflect a lower charge.
Well, you'll have that opportunity, Rob, when the bylaw's in front of us, if that's what you're thinking.
Actually, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. The fee bylaw was already passed back because it's part of our contained in our fee structure. So the fee bylaw was actually brought to public awareness because we do everything under that fee schedule. And it was moved that this is in association to. So it relates to the fees that are set in our fee schedule bylaw. So if we're going to look at it down the road, which when we reassess our fees, then we'd have an opportunity to say, does it work or doesn't it work at that point in time? But there's no fee set within the bylaw itself. It says refer to, our standard fee schedule. Okay.
Amend or rescind the previous.
Yep. And that was, I guess that's what I was meaning, sorry, not to be clear, that if that bylaw, if you wanted to amend, we would have to bring that bylaw back that was passed last August. give notice that we were going to bring that one back and look at our fees and schedule, fees and charges on that schedule at that point in time, Rob. Okay? Yep. Bev?
If these people are concerned about the property taxes being, you know, 1,800 and then having a trailer in a recreational property and using it as such, we're forgetting this is a second property. So a lot of people, if you can't afford a second property to pay those taxes, it's like saying somebody with a cottage, poor thing, that, you know, they have to pay for a cottage. Makes no sense to me. If they're going to use the roads and everything else that goes along with using that $1,000 fee is a very average fee. That's a second property. It's a recreational property, so.
In a lot of cases, that's what it is, yes. Just to be clear.
Well, the ones that were here, making notice about it.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Brian? Before we look at that.
We can deal with the bylaw later, but as long as
Yeah.
the questions are answered, we can bring it
And as I said, just, we'll be dealing with the bylaw, the zoning around it, coming when we get to bylaws, but Mr. Marcel is here, and we wanted to get him home before it got dark, because he has to cross that township line to the north, and got to look out for that.
Too late.
Okay. If there's no other questions, everybody has got their questions answered. Say thank you. Thanks, Brian. And I think you'll probably be on that second delegation. We'll be looking for some input coming forward at the Committee of the Whole on that issue when we get there coming forward. So probably from you and or Les. Yeah. Okay. So if there's no other questions, thanks. Thank you. And we'll move on down then to reports. Thanks, Ryan. Yep. And our first one, we have, the Director of Finance. Thank you for being here tonight, Carrie. And we have voucher. Your first is the approval of the vouchers. Voucher number 7, 2013. That has been in front of everybody. Is there any questions on any of the vouchers? Mr. Bell, John?
Well, I haven't found it here yet. I had it here a minute ago. Go to page 14 on the vouchers is where it's at. If there's any before that, if I'm out of turn, tell me.
Well, we'll go to 14 first, and
Okay.
that's the nice part about computers and or paper. You can go back and forth in the book.
Very good. I guess it revolves around, I guess my question revolves around the purchase of some more stuff for the new fire truck in Newstead. There's another $2,400 there that, and as I recall, there was $7,500 last month, and now there's another $2,400, so I think we're up over $10,000 more for the purchase of the fire truck, more than the 30 that I guess came forward, and I'm just wondering, is that it? Because it makes for, that 33% increase over the purchase price makes for an expensive item. And I presume that's for the same truck.
Yeah, it'll be for that truck. If that's it, I'd have to check with Phil. I know he's doing a report, I think, for Committee of the Whole on the costs for the truck with the tender and all that, but I can't say without speaking with him if that's the final bid or if there's anything else that needs to be bought. I'd have to consult with him.
So we don't know if the truck is actually on the road yet, or do we know that? Is it in service? I'll put it that way.
I was talking to some Newstead firemen on the weekend, and they indicated to me that it was, yes.
They were trained on
Yeah. Like the indication was it was, they were doing training with it, and it was on the road.
Well, I'm just, I know that the initial price didn't look bad and all that kind of stuff. I guess next time we do this, I think maybe we should have a safety inspection and a few things looked at by maybe somebody before we decide to purchase a truck such as this. 10,000, like 33% over cost, that's quite a bit of money, so I would suggest that we maybe cover ourselves a little bit on have an inspection. If you have a truck, you can take it somewhere and get it looked at to see what it costs for safety. I suggest we do that next time.
Very good point. We'll put that in our acquisition or purchasing procedures. Any other questions on the accounts and the vouchers? Councillor Marshall. Don?
The $5,200 bill from...
Sorry, what page are you on there, Don?
14 it would be, I believe. I wrote down 14 from the planning. Is Hanover, I don't know, is that half the bill that Planner Ron has heading out for February, March?
That'll be the full cost of the bill. We're paying it, and then we bill Hanover in turn for 50% of the cost that we've paid for Ron. There's a couple other, some of Joanne's time, for secretarial services.
Admin and Norm Gamble as well.
Norm
too.
Gamble is the other one.
Facilitating.
Yeah. We bill them for half of the cost, but that'll be the full cost of that month's invoice, or 2 months there.
All right.
That'll be all of Ron's costs. I think that's Ron's costs that are there. And so there'd be, our administration staff is highly qualified, and there's a good price go out for that. All right. Anything else, Don?
And on page 6, there's 3 or 4 insurance claims on there. Are they slip and falls, or is there a rash of them this time? I've seen there's more on the invoices than in previous months. Page 6.
Without knowing that, pulling out the claims there, getting into, I think they're all previous claims. There's nothing new there. They're all just additional investigation and still within our deductible amount. But I don't believe any of those are new claims. They're all previous claims that we're just still paying up to our $5,000 deductible.
So Public Works is picked up. They're all in Public Works, I believe, so...
It could be anything with roads, sidewalks, water, like anything in that would relate. If it was at a recreation facility, it would get billed to that facility.
So who makes the final decision, who pays that out? Or is there an option that we can go to court and fight these claims?
That's probably more of a Christine question, unfortunately. I don't know how much, I know we work with the insurance. I think you've offered up different opinions about whether you agree or don't agree with liability on a claim, but Christine deals with that more. That might be a better question to refer to her to get more detail.
Thanks.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, Don, these claims are from the adjuster investigation. Yeah, all 3 of them are. There's been nothing settled. It's just they've investigated and interviewed the people involved and our staff and whatever. That's where the invoice is coming from.
Most of them haven't even paid out the recipient yet.
Just the investigation.
So from this point, once that investigation and through their professional opinion, we may have an opportunity, we can have an opportunity at that point in time to how we want to resolve it, or whether through their investigation it can be resolved without payment. That we are, and in saying that, I think I'm thinking of one indication where we've been named in the last year, where through investigation our name was withdrawn from the case at that point in time. So they have been able to get us away from some litigation.
Right.
I wouldn't want to say it's going to be all of it. Okay. Any other questions on the vouchers? If not, I have a motion moved by David Mollison and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance, Treasurer, be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 7, 2013 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $816,491.35. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Here. And the second one on your report, Carrie, is dealing with LAS, energy audits and compliance, and how we can save money on energy consumption within the corporation. So I'm going to let you talk more in detail if you would like.
Yeah, it's sort of, yes, getting down to trying to save money on energy, but under the regulations that are filed under the Green Energy Act, we have to submit consumption data by July 1st of 2013, and have these what do we call them? Consumption greenhouse gas emissions, and then energy conservation and demand management measures plan must be submitted by July 2014. This was previously brought before you back in July or August of last year. So we've gotten some further information on it. It was at the recent town hall session that we had in Newstead with AMO. This was one of the services that LAS had elaborated on. So they do have some low-cost options that we can take advantage of, low to no, $200 annual fee for the web-hosted software, and then up until the end of 2014, we can have the consultants come and help us with preparing the plan and finding measures that we can put into the plan to try to save energy, which is what the province wants us to do. So there's benefits to us, there's low cost to us, penalties. There's nothing written in the regulation. That was one of the other items that was asked for further information, but you may want to be careful what you ask for from the province as far as penalties. It does say you shall, so that means we do not have a choice. We must comply. What happens to us if we don't, I don't know. If you want to find out, they hold a very significant purse string from the province in our oomph funding, which could get held up. If we don't submit our FIRs annually, those payments get held up. They do have, next grant funding that comes through, would there be input and we wouldn't get the nod? I don't know, but it's something. They don't specify any penalties in there, but it's anticipated we shall comply. So this is kind of a low-cost option. They're not consultants for, when I use the word consultant, they try to not say the word consultant. They're not trying to sell. LAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of AMO. It's just there to help municipalities achieve different things. We use them, LAS, for our energy, our hydro, our gas purchasing. We do participate in those programs, and they're just trying to do this at a low-cost way to help municipalities satisfy all of these requirements that are coming through. So just looking for direction to move forward on this, and while the money's there, they can't guarantee that after 2014 that the energy efficiency service providers is what they're calling them, but they can't guarantee that those would continue to be available or available at no cost, because currently the Ontario Power Authority is providing funding for 100% for AMO to LAS to provide that service. So if we take advantage of it now, we can get this done and satisfy the requirements. We also, energy consumptions must be reported annually after this, and the plan must be updated every 5 years. But hopefully, with these tools in place, we can build on them with the annual piece. We need to report on all of our facilities. If it's heated or cooled, it must be in our report. Sand domes aren't heated and cooled, they don't count. We have the option to report on further things. An example would be street lights. They encouraged you to report on those if you're looking at replacing them. Where this data starts is 2011, so last year we did the streetlights in Ayton, so there's part of our plan, there's something that we've satisfied and been able to, that's an example of finding energy efficiencies. So we would likely include that in our plan, even though it's not heated or cooled. But as a rule of thumb, if it's heated or cooled, it must be in the plan. Everything else is optional.
Mark, Councillor Rapke.
Carrie sold me. I think we should go ahead with the recommendation. It sounds like it's something we have to do, and it's a low-cost option, so it seems like the right way to go.
John?
No,
Deputy Mayor Bell?
I would definitely agree with that assessment by Councillor Rapke. The other thing is, and Kerry was very astute in recognizing the contributions by the province through one way or another, if they come back through to West Grey because of those little compliance issues, that could help us in the long run. So I don't think we better give up the ghost on that one. But yeah, if we show a little bit of good faith and good intent on asset management going forward, I think that could help us in the long run.
And we have found at our recreational facilities various things that we've done already. Looking down at Carroll, in the Ayton Normanby Arena, did the chiller, and the other is the lighting in both Ayton and Durham arenas, and the facility managers have said at both of them, especially in Ayton, it dropped the hydro bill at least 35% by putting that chiller in, and the energy cost for the lighting has shown significant as well too. So there are savings out there. It's trying to find the money to the initial yeah. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, there's savings out there. It's trying to find the money to save it. So I think in this, it was in our budget. Kerry can probably find the $200 to satisfy Jason at LAS, and if there's nobody that is jumping up and down and saying no, I think that all that Kerry's looking for is just council's nod of thumbs up, go for it, Kerry, and get another computer software program.
I want to contact the, I think it's Jeff, I can't think of his name, but just to see how much they do as far as inputting our 2011 consumption data into the program, but I'll come back to council. If we need to do some of that, I might look at maybe using one of our summer students that, like through the roads department or something, but it won't help with entering that kind of data. If that's something that we need to do and then they take it and go, or if that's part of the service they provide. I just want to get a clarification on that, but there may be some summer student low-cost labor that we might use, but again, that's within our budget. We usually get summer students anyways. So.
There might be a rain day out there with a summer student in Public Works
no.
Can't be watering flowers. Okay. Well, I think I've got, you've got council sold on that idea, Kerry, so you're looking for direction. Go off in that direction. The next one, if that's it for 2, 3, is, boy, we've kicked around the provincial government for doing a bit of shell. I see the federal government is not just happy with SOCAN, now they are going to hit us with sound tariffs.
I haven't, other than the sort of the attachment there, I haven't been able to get a lot of information on how they're going to roll out and come and find us and get all of it. So at this point, it's kind of just for information, and we'll see what happens when they come knocking on our door, but I'm not going to, chase them down and ask them to assess me. It shouldn't be, it looks like they're focusing on skating, so I don't anticipate a too onerous of a charge whenever it does come down. Yeah, it's going to be retro probably, you know, but they seem to be focusing on dance and fitness facilities are the other two, from what I can gather from this piece of copyright bit. That seems to be the sort of three areas that they're really focusing on. So figure skating is the only one that's going to impact us potentially. Do we pay it? Does the skating club pay it? Our public skating time might be us, but their private skating time, you know, would they assess them? So I haven't been able to get all those details, but.
Interesting thing, so we have, basically it's canned music or piped in music for those types of activities. If you were to turn the radio station on, do you have to pay for it? Because obviously the radio station is paying for it already, and you're picking it up over public airwaves. Well, I was kind of thinking that might be, you know, you might have to listen to, you know, a few commercials here and there, but, you know, yeah. For the most part, most of them do, yeah. And I just wonder, you know, is that the possibility, especially for our, you know, public skating? You know, I read through it, and there's a minimum charge. Sometimes at our public skating, I wonder whether we would have enough out public skating to be able to cover the minimum charge on it. So, yeah, it's on a yearly basis, but, you know. John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Well, real quick, just going one step further than that, so Sirius Radio, for instance. Sirius Satellite, you should be able to use that. You're paying your own fee. Yeah, you're already paying once, you shouldn't have to pay again, I guess my point.
Yeah.
But if you buy a CD and you choose to take that in your boombox to the arena.
Play it from your iPod, you know, your music that you've downloaded, you're still gonna have to probably pay, because you're broadcasting it.
Yeah, okay.
Radio transmission, I don't know if that would be
But even if you
considered us broadcasting it, or is it the radio broadcasting it? But if you get into playing music that you know, a DJ playing music, you're playing music, right?
But even if you paid for the CD, you took it on your own machine.
I think you're still-
Wherever you wanted to take it.
You're broadcasting it. That's,
Broadcasting it on public place.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
already paid for that right to listen to that music. Yeah.
in the privacy of your own home, you have. If you're doing it in a public venue, I think it's a little sketchy, but I think that's how it's kind of rolling out.
So when Ken Gould goes camping in the summertime, and he's got the trailer just a hopping and a rocking, up in the back hills, in the back hills of Grey Highlands somewhere.
No.
Okay.
He's in Westbury.
On some rocky top.
And so, yeah, Rocky Top, and somebody down the road can hear it. That could be broadcasting. Never mind.
Sorry, Councillor Eccles, John.
I'll leave that.
Not that we're ever going to solve the problem. Why wouldn't they just put a small tariff on the SOCAN fees and take it right from there, instead of creating another level of bureaucracy? It just seems ridiculous that they have a whole new level of bureaucracy to do something where it could have been straight and simple. You pay your SOCAN fees, a certain portion that goes after them. There's my beef for the day.
That's the only beef you have today. You got one that's going to last you for a long time, because it's pretty much jerky. You're going to get that one going. Yep. Don?
I just wonder how they can make it retroactive for 4 years.
They're the government.
It was filed
Mr. Harper.
in 2008. It took them that long to make the decision, but it goes back to the date it's filed, and it was filed in 2008. It's just it took them that long to decide. That's exactly why.
There's not much satisfaction in that, is there?
And if on the
But
other
that's
side,
the way it is, Don.
if you appeal your assessment and you file it in 2008, you want your refund to go back to 2008 on the other flip side.
Yep.
And it's the date you filed it, as long as you filed it by the deadlines, then once the decision made, even though it's 4 years from now, we have to go back to 2008 and give a refund in another scenario.
I had an answer for John's.
Go
We had
ahead.
all these people unemployed that were in charge of the gun registration. They're looking for something to do.
The next, before we get into that, the next one, let's move on quickly, Carrie. The next one is our mileage remuneration. We're set with the county does it on a quarterly basis, so for the next quarter, our mileage rate is 48 cents instead of 47.5.
And it should say 2013. I have the first quarter.
First quarter of 2012.
Second quarter. Second quarter. I just copy and paste, I missed that.
Well, you've got the, in the first line there, you've got it, which quarter it's supposed to be, from April to June 2013. Thank you. Any, and that again is for information. Any other questions of Carrie at this point in time? So you'll be able to stay with us, Carrie? There's no curling playoffs or anything. Slow pitch hasn't started on a Monday night, so you're pretty much stuck. You're going to have, I digress as well, too. Thank you, Carrie, for the report, and you are quite welcome to stay as long as you like. Moving down, Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, Ken. And once I get it here, the first one is basically, it's not basically, it is for information on our bridge replacement update with Guardian and their work on the Normanby Bridge on the baseline. Oh, sorry, on the second, yeah. Down at the bottom end of Normanby there. And anything else you want to bring up to date other than what is here?
No, the dates are pretty much in place there for when they expect to be up here, but I did touch on that AMO. Carrie and I were at that seminar in Newstead, and they're quite interested in taking photos and that type of thing for something like this for their promoting gas tax through the federal government. So they're, as soon as we give them the go-ahead, they will be up here. So if some council wanted to get over and get their picture taken or whatever, and perhaps do an interview, or it's
Council
will
doesn't get
certainly
that
be
very
allowed.
often. Jump at it. Thanks, Ken. John, Councilor Eccles.
Not that I want my picture taken, but I wouldn't mind finding out the date that it's going to be so I can go down and have a look at this thing before they get it covered up with gravel again.
Well, I think Ken will get, definitely that'll be a blast out as when it's going to be set into place there that day, and that'll be the most interesting aspect of it for sure. And it won't take, if it's like the last one that I saw 4 years ago, it won't take too long, at about an hour and a half from the time they start picking it up until its ability to walk across on it. Don?
I would like that too, but that OSUM conference is on when, first, second, and third?
First, second, and third of May, yeah. But it's in Alliston. It's just a short trip back and forth. I hear you. Yeah, and I believe you're going as well, and I'm going as well, too, to the OSUM. John?
Are we going to get any advertising out of this when AMO's here? We're going to have like West Gray trucks parked around so we get them in the picture?
I'm seeing a nod that yes, there probably will be. We are supplying some of the equipment to do this, so our trucks will be in the background, close in the background. Okay. The next one, Ken, is on grass cutting.
Yes.
Mike?
We did ask for quotes this year for municipal grass cutting. This is on municipal properties and cemeteries, parkland. We briefly discussed the possibility of doing it in-house at the committee of the whole meeting. back in the end of March, and I have done a costing here of what it would take to do it in-house. Carrie's gone here now, but I didn't put the rebate in there for the students. It's about, she said it'd be about $1,500. It's $2 an hour, so there would be that much less. I know we haven't got the press here, which is good.
There is a camera on.
Yeah. But we did have the lowest companies in, or contractors in, that provided the lowest quotes, and went through with them, and they were all showing each individual property as to what they had to do before they tendered. So anyway, we've brought this forward for discussion, and I'll leave it at that for now. And
Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Mr. Mayor, could I ask that this be deferred to Committee of the Whole? I spoke to Ken, and I was showing you this. I'd like Ken to do a little bit more work on these figures, for instance, on the grant for the student, and he's showing the total cost of the grass cutting last year. However, if you look at the quotes here and multiply them by 24 cuts, you're looking at $22,716 cost in this year. So I just wonder if we could have a little bit more work done on them and discuss this a little more fully at Committee of the Whole. I can't say an awful lot here, but I would like another look at it. So,
Well, as of last Friday, grass cutting wasn't something that certainly was on Ken's agenda in the foreseeable future. So are you moving that we defer this
Yes.
till Committee of the Whole?
I am, yes.
That would be 2 weeks. Yes, correct, Deputy Mayor. Ken, do you, any comment, or, sorry, John? Take John first.
Yeah, and yeah, there's still snow here, and it might be ready to cut and it might not, but after that, if we let the tender, will they be able to start the next day if need be? After the Committee of the Whole meeting? If we pick whoever or decide what we're going to do, will they be able to start the next day, or when would startup be?
I'd have to go back to them and see. I expect they would. We never discussed that when we met with them, but we were talking, what, the 29th of April for, so depending what happens the next 2 weeks here, if we start to get into some more weather, your grass is going to pop up, but it may not either, so.
Mark, Councillor Ramke?
Well, I mean, it'd be a good idea to look at it, but would this not be capital money that we're spending if we were to do it ourselves? Like, I kind of think we should just go ahead with what we quoted for this year, and if this is something, like, why would we make this decision real quick? If you're looking at taking it in-house and making capital expenses, you could have it as a plan for next year's budget, and then we wouldn't have to go through the quote process. It just seems like we're trying to change direction in a real big hurry. That's all. We've already sent out the tenders and done all that kind of stuff, so, and I don't think you have this allocated for capital spending in your budget either, which I didn't look at it real close, but it's a fairly significant amount of money, so. But that's all I'm thinking is in, plus kids getting on. I don't think it's bad to look at it, but maybe for next year.
Okay, Carol?
I really want to discuss this at Committee of the Whole. It's not possible maybe to say some things tonight?
Okay. Don, go ahead.
I'd just like to say there's no way that we're going to cut that grass cheaper than that tender price. No way. That's why Shane Lawrence cuts at 80 miles an hour, because he has to get this job done quick. And if you're going to cut, either you're going to get it cut quick and cheap, or you're going to take your time and expensive. So if we do it ourselves and want it done that looks like Buckingham Palace grass, then we're going to be paying big.
I was going to say the Masters, Augusta National. the golf course there, but anyway, I do have a motion, and I may be out of, I think on a motion to defer, you can discuss that, so I'm, still think I'm proper. Councillor Lawrence, you want to defer this? I'll take that. Do I have anybody that would like to second that? Councillor Mollison. I do have a motion on the floor to defer the decision on accepting the quotes for grass cutting with a report to come back or discussion at Committee of the Whole on April the 29th.
One more question.
Okay.
One more question. If we were to get our own lawnmower and set that up, I mean, we haven't even talked about that, or haven't even put that in. We don't have that in the budget. And plus, how long would it, it's going to take a few days to get that up and going and ready. We have 2 students hired last year, would that be correct? We had 2 last year?
We had 3 last year. We hired an extra student because of the one, or the, I shouldn't say that one, there was 2 of them done a lot of work down at the Ball Diamonds painting and for the Old Home Week, which is certainly not in
So
the
I guess
plans this year, but 2 is what we plan to hire.
So you're planning on hiring 2, so if we go ahead with our own lawnmower and everything, are we hiring 2 more, or are we using the 2 that we're gonna hire, and then that other work that all these other kids did last year won't be available, or won't get done?
Well, they can't water flowers and cut grass at the same time, so we're gonna need more staff to, if you have to go through with doing the in-house grass cutting, yeah, we're gonna need 2 more, 1 for trimming and 1 for cutting, so.
Exactly, because on a once-a-week schedule, this grass is gonna take, what, is it gonna take 3 days a week, or is it?
At least.
3.5 days, or 4 days, or?
If we do all of West Gray, yeah, it'll definitely will.
Let's get some of those quality numbers together when we're looking for the report. I have on the floor a motion to defer. With no more questions, I'm going to ask all those in favor of the motion on the floor to defer. 1, 2, 3. All those willing to oppose to the deferred motion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we have a tie vote. So the motion is lost. So we'll deal with accepting the quote. Unless you can get Ms. She's not here. It's not here, it's not here. Okay, I have a motion on the motion here, moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Gray hereby accepts the quotes from S&E Lawn Care for grass cutting on sections A at $205 per cut, C at $23 per cut, D at $50 per cut, E at $245.50 per cut, and F at $256 per cut. And accept the quote from C. Harris Lawn Care for section B at a cost of $170 per cut. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councillor Lawrence.
Request a recorded vote, please.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Mark, I'll ask you to take the vote. If you can click on your mic, you can do that.
Sorry. Deputy Mayor Bell?
Yes.
Councillor Eccles?
Yes.
Mayor Eccles?
Yes.
Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Marshall.
Yes.
Councillor Mollison.
No.
Councillor Rapke.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson.
The motion is carried 5-3. I think there certainly is some concern from council there, and we'll have to watch the service that's being rendered.
Yeah, and
Ken?
I'll
John?
echo that sentiment, Mr. Mayor. I think with the type, or with the year that we're going to have, I think everything's going to grow at once, okay? And I can't see how we can get organized this year, but I will say, I know this has been a problem for years. I can say it doesn't matter. And, yeah, this year's the last year. And it, in our tendering form, it's lowest or any tender not necessarily accepted. So if we have to go forward in another year, and the lowest tender may not be accepted, and I can work with that also. But for this year, I think with staff's guidance, and yeah, it might have to be a little hand-holding along the way, but I think it can get done, but time will tell.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lawrence?
To whom do we direct the comments and concerns? Because I assure you, if it's like other years, there's many. Many came to me and to Bev and to the office here. Do we
Yeah.
refer them to Ken?
Yes. Yep.
Good luck, Ken.
Go ahead, Ken.
No, they can come back to me, that's fine. I'm the one that done the interview here last week, so I'll see what happens.
That's the staff person where the buck stops. Okay. Next is number 3 on your report is landfill monitoring tender that we had a little bit of a hiccup with as we went through, but you're recommending Gamsby and Manero Limited here, Ken. Any other comments?
I met with Al Brinkleson from Gamsby Manor, and he amended his tender price to take off the work that was done by Burnsides, some of the survey work of the 3 active landfill sites, and he's lowered his tender price, I think, by about $3,000. So they're certainly willing to do the work, and they have the background to do it. So.
Okay. Any other questions at this point in time? We did accept the tender from Burnside, and I believe, Carol, that's the one that you're to rescind that one. And, yeah. So there'll be 2 motions come forward here to, one to rescind that the previous award is not able to fulfill the contract, so we have to rescind that and go forward with awarding it to Gamsby. Okay. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by David Mollison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby rescinds Resolution number 1213. And this one, as I said, was the resolution to award the tender to Burnside and Associates. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Now that we have it back open again, I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby accepts the tender from Gamsby and Manero Limited for annual landfill monitoring at a cost of $24,800, plus applicable taxes. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Anything else, Ken? Go ahead.
Yes, there is a bylaw coming forward. It's renewing the agreement with Mary McKay to get for the gravel pit. It's just changing the dates. We never changed any. She agreed to the same prices. There is a little bit of gravel left in that pit, not a whole lot. It's kind of waiting to see if we do a construction job someplace. It's pit run's not just the best there that's left, so. But we need to keep that agreement current to allow us to get in and out of our pits so we can use our own gravel. So, but she has agreed to that, and that'll be coming forward with your bylaws.
Any questions on that? Well, Ken is still here with us? No, oh, sorry, Don, go ahead.
I guess the only concern that I really have with this is the 20-year agreement with the land going across her property there. And if she or her siblings or whoever decide to sell that, we get first right of refusal. And there doesn't say what that cost is. So if we need that, what's the cost going to be to us rather than to another landowner and land purchaser? So we should be able to purchase that price at the appraised value. And that's, I don't know if you work that in there or that's ever worked into a deal like that.
You've had more dealings on this.
I can certainly take that back to her, Don. We can hold this off if council wishes for another couple of weeks or whatever, but I can take that back and ask her if, but we are going to have another option to get in there probably later on here too. There's some action coming from the other side of our property there too in the next 2 or 3 years. So with the other gravel pit being open, so we may have some options on that recourse too if this didn't work.
So you're not concerned with this excesses?
Not with the present ownership, no.
Okay. Fair concern and looking forward to Don, and as an agreement can be put into place, I think, and we have at times made amendments to the agreement with the present owner of the Ellison pit, and I guess as long as the ownership stays the way it is, if something does come forward, we can. It's been very favorable working relationship with the group. Okay. Anything else, Ken?
We had a bit of damage done at the Newstead ball diamond from the storm last Thursday night. Section of the ball screen came down. The high section, I'm not sure whether it had to be the wind. I don't think it would be the ice on a chain link fence, but anyway, modern fencing were over there today putting it back up. So, and there was many trees down, mainly in Glenelg, where there are a lot of trees. And we had slippery roads, and now we got rough roads, but we had all the graders out today, so we have had a number of calls about the rough roads, but we'll try and get over them this week, and they seem to be drying up pretty good anyway, if we can just get some dry weather to get at them. So.
Carol, Councillor Lawrence.
Can I just ask about the fence at Newstead? Did they have to replace it with new fencing, or were they able, like, was it damaged to the point they couldn't reuse it? Was it, and is it covered by our insurance?
I looked at it Friday. I would anticipate, Carol, that they can use the same fencing again. It just looked like the pole snapped off, one of those long poles. So I think I'm not sure whether it wasn't set in right or what, but I'll know more after I get talking to Tom today or tomorrow, because they were there today.
Okay, and maybe it did have something to do with the ice on that just allowed the wind to catch more of it, because it certainly made short work of some hydro poles out there too, with wiring. Okay,
Good games on the wood stove.
what a novel, romantic idea.
They're the best. Cast
My
iron,
husband was very proud of me.
cast iron frying pan, cast iron frying pan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
nothing like it.
Any other questions of Ken while he's here? Anything else? No? All right. Thank you, Ken. And we'll look forward to that. A nice warm rain may dry up those roads quicker than anything out there. Okay, Mark. I think we're down to your report. The first item was Mr. Davidson and Mark's report on the land use planning amendment going forward to the county, and we've already dealt with that one. And the second one is from an individual that has some concerns with a planning proposal in the Township of Southgate, certainly quite close to the boundary lines between Southgate and West Grey. It's there for information. One thing that I would say is that on this line, it's a business that, yes, is on our boundary, but happens to be in another municipality. The municipality of West Grey certainly has, our strategic plan is to be encouraging and trying to support businesses and get business here. Wondering whether whether the West Grey Council wanted to make comment, send a letter of comment to the Township of Southgate, either favorably or endorsing, or a letter of opposition. And I'll just throw that out there at this point in time. Councillor Eccles, John.
Well, I'm not sure why we'd want to be concerning ourselves with what goes on in Southgate, but I'm all in favor for what they're doing down there. Economic development that Speedway brings back to the municipality of West Grey. The Varney Inn's full of people, the stores in town are full of people every Saturday night, and I think it's a great thing for us to have on our boundaries.
So from that aspect, I guess you're saying that maybe we should put a letter of generic support for the...
The lady was asking for a response to her letter. I'm not so sure that we have to comment on what's going on in Southgate, though.
Okay. Mark.
I think the note here says that we don't typically respond to planning applications proposed by the municipalities. So I'd propose we do what we typically do, then not. That's my proposal.
Okay. Don. Councillor Marshall.
There could be a development happening on our westerly borders over in Brockton, such as a nuclear repository, which I hope we do comment on. So it's the same.
It's not the same.
Oh, it's not the same? They're both businesses? They're both businesses?
Well, they are.
They're both going to upset people?
There's high test fuel both.
And not that I'm against it, but when they do the planning over in Southgate, I guess, they should have, 30 or 40 years ago, they should have planted trees around the place to keep the sound in, the buffer zone. Whether the planning committee in Southgate, I'm sure they will ask for a site plan agreement, and they might be able to meet all the serve the requirements or the concerns of the public over there.
Mitigate the concerns of the public. John, respond.
When the Interforce was working here, every morning I knew it was 7 o'clock because Phil fired up the Pettibone and he threw it in reverse and backed out, and it would beep, beep, beep at my house. I knew it was 7 o'clock. I knew there was a bunch of people working in West Grey, and I thought it was wonderful. Saturday nights, the stock car races start. I hear them as clear as a bell at my house, and it's like there's a bunch of people enjoying themselves. It's economic development to our community. I don't see anything against it. I really don't.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Bell first, then I'll get to you, Mark.
Well, I wouldn't be afraid to make comment on this, just for the simple fact is we're going to win more than Southgate are. And all you have to do is look at the businesses it's going to enhance. I mean, they're at the top one corner of their municipality. It's not going to help Dundalk, it's not going to help anything, but it is going to help Steve Kerr, and it is going to help the Varney Inn, and it is going to help some merchants in Durham, especially if some people stay around or people are going back and forth. Gas stations, sure, Rob. And I wouldn't be afraid to say that, economic development is a generic letter, like the mayor said, something that's good for the area, and it's going to cause some economic growth for some people. And I mean, I'm just thinking of how many waitresses work in the restaurant and whether they clean rooms or whatever. I think that place is really going to win myself. And, just even going towards Mount Forest, there could be some other businesses there. Lorenz's trailer sales, there's all that kind of stuff. So I think we're gonna reap the rewards more than Southgate is actually.
Mark?
I guess that's not a bad idea that the deputy mayor had that up there, but the other thing is we don't really have any information on what they're doing. Like when it says they're expanding, I don't know if it's going to get noisier or what. Maybe some people, is it here? Oh, okay, yeah. And I didn't read far enough.
It's going to be,
Used car sales and drag strip.
yeah, be a used car dealership. But the biggest expansion is going to be the drag strip that comes in play with it. Yeah, it's not expanding the area or anything. It's still going to fit within the footprint, but
I think
it's going to do a little more usage.
We're talking about this because Sheila Stockton sent in a letter, and she's not in favor of it. Is that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not sure.
You did read that correctly, but I think we've approved a number of other things here that some individuals haven't been supportive of either.
Oh, okay. No,
on
that's
planning.
what I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of at a loss. I need a little direction. John?
How about we send a letter saying that we have no objections to the proposal in Southgate at the Varney Speedway?
Councillor Cutting, Bev?
Have they asked us to comment?
Well, they have not asked us officially to comment,
Well,
but
then-
we are circulated. Have they asked us? But we're circulated because of our situation. And, I mean, Ms. Stockton is not in on the circulation list, but she's commented.
Well, she needs to comment to Southgate.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we would take very kindly to Southgate sending us comments about any kind of proposed amendments of any kind. I think we just bow out and let them do their business down there.
It's always nice to get a letter of support when you're doing something, though, no matter where it is. And maybe we should be doing that. We're not on an island here more. We should be commenting. Carol, did you have a comment?
Well, we haven't been in the habit, though, of commenting on adjacent municipalities, so why would we on this particular one? I think that, as Bev said, that Ms. Stockton, or whatever her name is, should make her own comments to Southgate. But
Yes.
I mean, I don't, why would we just pick this one to do it to? We don't normally.
You're right, we don't typically do that, but maybe it's time that we do start, because we certainly had one here that we're trying to get some development lands with close to another municipality, that we passed the official plan going forward, or the application, And maybe we do need to start. Typically, instead of being back, maybe we do need to start. John?
I'm just, my point of, I guess the whole thing was, there's only 66 feet that separates us from them. So it's just the highway. And, you know, there's going to be some people right across from it, but I think it's going to do a lot of good for.
Okay. I'm looking for Councillor Eccles. Do you want to put that forward as a resolution that we send a generic letter of support to Southgate? Mr. Rapke, yeah.
So I think the motion was to say that we support the economic development. Do we put anything saying we hope that they address any concerns of residents within the process, or that they take them under advisement, anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Councillor Eccles just made it. We'll still have to go to the regular planning process. And
Yeah, that's true too.
We're going to see this in Owen Sound, so.
Okay.
I mean, they'll have to be, and I would, oh, we won't go to Owen Sound?
I don't think we will, because
Oh, they're not
Southgate has their own official plan.
Yes.
So it's not changing. They're under control of their own official plan. That's where it goes through. It's not through Owen Sound.
Okay. Well, we can tell them that we hope good planning practices will prevail, so.
Any other comments? And this in no way is commenting. It is from a, I'm taking it, what we're doing is putting a letter forward of support from a corporate, the municipality, not speaking on behalf of any of the citizens of the West Grey. They have the opportunity on Wednesday to make their own comments and information available. Okay? Don?
I guess the planning then does not have any boundaries, so the people on the West Grey side of the road will get notified of the zoning change?
Yeah, anybody within 400 feet of the property, so, yeah, Terry Laurent, you know, anybody that's on that side, yeah, the line doesn't mean anything. It's if you're within that notification distance. And even at that, anybody that is, that wants to make comment, those are the ones that get notification. It's an open public meeting on Wednesday. Anybody can go and give a verbal on it. Okay. I have a motion then here from Councillor Eccles and seconded by Deputy Mayor Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby authorizes staff to submit a letter of support for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment by the Township of Southgate concerning the Varney Speedway property. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. Sorry, Don?
Just like, are we stepping ahead of the train here? Like, what if Southgate Council does not approve of the planning of the zoning change? What then?
It means that we put a letter in and,
They like it, they don't.
you know, we think it, if this would pass, it's just submitting a letter to the public meeting. If from that public meeting, Southgate turns it down, Southgate turns it down. Yeah. Be no different than an individual out here, you know, making comment on a zoning for severance and making comment of what the negative aspects are, but West Grey Council still supporting it, or vice versa.
I think it's something for a public, or a citizen to speak out against in opposition to something, but for a whole council to to speak out about approving something on the neighboring side, and I think that's going to be a problem.
Well, as I said, from my understanding, the way that Councillor echoes, it's, that there is positives of this, and we're supporting in generic fashion. Councillor Cutting.
We've had one letter and one little scenario here. We have in no way all the information, and we're jumping ahead and saying, yes, we're going, we think it's a great idea, go ahead, when we don't have, we haven't listened to the public, we haven't listened to the concerns, we don't know if they've got any conservation concerns. This is crazy. Like, one letter and we're going to say, yeah, okay, let's go ahead, it's a great idea because it's going to fill up people at the gas stations. Like, there's way more to this than that. I think you're jumping the gun.
But that would be up to Southgate to take that?
Yeah, but we don't, to my way of thinking, we're stepping on toes that have not even been walked on yet because we don't have the information. We don't have all the information. And yet
So
we're saying, yeah, we think it's a great idea because our restaurants are going to have an extra waitress. That's crazy.
Fair comment, but do any of the public out there have the information as well, too?
Well, if they've
Making
been
their
involved with this, if they've been involved with any of the process, then I would assume they've got the information. We've just got one letter and that's it. We don't know.
We've got the letter and we have the
Well, this
application.
thing, yeah, I know, but
We've got the application, so we've got as much as what any individual out there would, or any individual that's coming to our planning committee.
well,
But I'm just,
I won't be supporting it. I think it's
Oh,
nuts.
understand, and understand the reasons for it. Any other questions or comments? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion as presented? Opposed? 1, 2, 3. That is carried. Okay. Moving on, Mark, you're seeking direction on the lease agreement. And Mark, I'll let you take it away.
So I have had discussions with Dave Gecky, the, I believe, CEO of Durham Furniture, about the proposed agreement. He has agreed to the insurance coverage. He's provided a sample of the insurance from his insurers. With the minimum amount of, we put in 5 million, there's actually 10 million general, and then 2 million for other parts of the insurance coverage. And then, as I understand, council may wish to limit the subject property to being the northerly half, and that can be taken back to Mr. Gecky. The only other issue that has been broached, because it's been broached by council on other current proposed agreements, is the aspect of the one-year opt-out clause. It's not included with this draft agreement. There is a concern by Mr. Gecky about that, being the need for the parking space, and if a future council may change their mind, that would leave them in a potentially precarious position. They did indicate that as an alternative, that a section may be put in that they would be basically a first right of refusal if the property was to be sold. He did mention that there would be a set price as opposed to whatever proposed amount of the property would be worth, so I'm not sure how we could go to a set price predetermined without compromising our property disposal bylaw. So again, it's proposed for a 10-year period, so I'm not sure council wants to discuss the one-year opt-out inclusion or exclusion clause.
Open for comments. Carol.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's one of our only industries. I think we do have to protect them and cooperate with them as much as we can, and without that, I mean, if we said we wanted it within a year, truly, I don't know where their employees would park. And let's help our industry that we have. I certainly would agree with cutting it, though, giving them just, the north half. If you look at that map, like, if they came back just to the little dip there, I think it's 280, 343 feet or something. But I can understand their concern with a one-year opt-out. I would agree with them having, I guess, first right of refusal. If at end of 10 years, this council decides they want to sell it, they should have the first right of refusal on it, I think.
And if, Mark was just saying, if the opt-out clause was, if we went in with a guaranteed 10-year, and it's not like that doesn't come with precedent. I believe there's a couple of other agreements that we have out there. The one that's coming to mind is the Durham Activity Center. Was initially for a 25-year period. Yeah, and it continues. It was contentious when the agreement was redone for West Grey, but that is back in there again, very extended out to that period. I mean, there's a number of years that elapsed on it before it was renewed. So it's not like we're entering into non-typical area or non-precedented area. So if we put that in, obviously I don't think they would need an opt-out clause. If you said it was for 10 years, it's 10 years, and there's no need for the opt-out clause then. John?
Let's just pray they're here in 10 years, still using the land, and we have to worry about it again.
Okay. And the other one, Councillor Lawrence has said, basically the north half, what they've historically used and whatnot, may be a good option as well too. And we'll let Mark take that and staff discuss with their staff going forward. Okay? Carol?
I think when Mark is taking that forward, he should mention the fact that they don't use it, and they are, they're opening themselves up to more liability because it is used as overflow and should really be under our care.
Okay, very good. That's enough direction for you, Mark. That's it for you. Very good. Any questions of our clerk? Then we will go on to bylaws. And we have 4 bylaws tonight. Sorry, 6 bylaws. 4 on the first page and 2 on the next. A number of them coming out of planning. So we'll hand those out for signatures. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we'll start with bylaw number 27. It was a bylaw that was recommended from the Planning Committee for approval. It's moved by John A. Bell and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that bylaw number 27, 2013, being a bylaw to rezone lands described as part lots 43 to 45, concession 1, SDR, former Township of Glenelg, Cedarwell Excavating Limited, owner, DC Slade Consultants, Inc., agent, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed with the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book.
Be a development agreement that will come back.
Yep.
Presented to council.
And with this is just the initial part of it. before anything happens, there will have to be a development agreement drawn up and put into place to approve before any action is taken with this development. Any questions or comments on the motion? Don?
I think it should be commented on this and that the Saugeen First Nations, if that's correct, and that should be maybe brought up here because there could be some repercussions come back from that, maybe.
Yeah, through the earlier process, of course, it was circulated by the county to the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and they did respond that they wanted, I believe it's $85,000 to cover their administration and consulting costs to review the studies submitted by Cedarwell. The county deferred a decision for a bit. They tried to deliberate among Cedarwell and the representatives from SON. Apparently didn't go anywhere. The proponent then requested the county deal with the official plan. The county then did actually pass the official plan amendment. It was circulated. There was no appeal of that official plan amendment. The zoning bylaw, if it's passed, it could be potentially appealed, but that certainly was an issue that the county had to deal with and potentially the municipality.
Okay. And an area of planning that is definitely new to us in dealing with that commenting agency. It would have been the first time that we've seen that. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Yeah. Okay, bylaw number 28. And this one comes, we discussed this with the Public Works Director, as a lease agreement between a citizen and the municipality. Have a motion moved by David Mollison and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that bylaw number 28, 2013, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the CEO to enter into a lease option agreement between the municipality of West Grey and Mary A. McKay, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Bylaw number 29. This one come through the Planning Committee and is recommended is a housekeeping bylaw to our comprehensive zoning bylaw, correcting some omissions that have been, that the committee and council has been made aware of. So this is correcting that. The motion is moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 29, 2013, being a bylaw to correct certain errors and omissions in the West Grey Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 37, 2006, as amended, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CAO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Bylaw number 30. This one is coming out of our the housing initiative and affordable and accessory apartments for affordable housing options to meet the requirement in today's housing nature. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that bylaw number 30, 2013, being a bylaw to further amend zoning bylaw number 37, 2006, to permit an accessory apartment dwelling unit within certain detached dwellings in Durham and Newstead, pursuant to Bill 140, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councillor Cutting?
You're just quick on the draw there, woman. This, I was just reading through this, and we did go through this on planning, but I can't remember if I asked the question, do we have in this bylaw that there has to be a separate secure entrance to that apartment? No, I don't think I did, but it's something that I...
And it doesn't specify that certainly in the bylaw, no. John? Councillor Eccles, comment?
I can understand where you're coming from that, Bev, but I've been in, my brother-in-law's house in Brockton had a granny suite in it, and they used the same entrance, and they just walked down the hallway and went into their own apartment. But it was a mother and father situation within a house with a family, and they never used the front. They never used their specific door. They always used the front door. If you had an ailing parent that had lived with you, why would you make them put in a separate entranceway?
I agree, but that's not really what this is all about. This is affordable housing and trying to get, you know, so you could end up with, it's a rental unit. So it's not necessarily your parents we're talking about. This is a separate, completely separate, could be two couples living in a house sharing. So I think in Toronto there is that you have to have a separate and secure entrance to each apartment. I just wondered if we had addressed that here, or whether we were going to or not going to, or just leave it alone, or you can see why in some ways, and you know.
And in another way, do you want, you know, how much of Big Brother do we play?
Yeah, exactly. And would it come under the building code? That it could be a separate, I should have asked Brian, I didn't think when he was here. There may have to be, for security and fire reasons, you know, a secured entrance into a separate apartment. I know you would, you even have to have a secured entrance from your garage into your house that's fireproof, let alone 2 apartments in a house, you know?
Yeah, and those would come under
building codes.
Under the building code.
Yes, and I'm wondering
And
if
there would
this,
be,
whether we,
I think
and
some-
whether it maybe should be addressed, I don't know.
Is it an absolute that we time-wise need to have this passed? Mark, can we defer it to,
Sure.
you know, defer and have that question answered to make sure?
Answer it
Yep.
and not have to come back and change it or add it or do something.
Well, as we see right now, it's an amendment to zoning.
Number 92, so.
Yeah. Fair enough. Would you like to move that?
I can
Move to defer?
Yeah, defer to the next council meeting.
Okay. Bev will defer that. Councillor Eccles?
Maybe you'd want to defer.
Hmm? Yeah, and defer, well,
you'd
we
have
might
to
as well
defer
defer.
that motion first.
Yep. And then we'll, and probably the next one as well, too, for the same.
We can just, we haven't introduced it.
Yeah, we haven't introduced the next one, but we'll do the same thing. Okay, Councillor Eccles will move that to defer. So I have a motion on the floor to defer bylaw number 30, moved by Councillor Cutting and seconded by Councillor Eccles.
Resolution 108.
Yep. And that would be Resolution 108-13. All those in favor of deferring? Any opposed? Okay. That's carried to defer. Procedurally, I guess I got to go through this. I'll introduce this one, and we probably want to do the same thing with it. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 31, 2013, being a bylaw to further amend zoning bylaw number 37, 2006, to permit an accessory apartment dwelling unit within certain detached dwellings in West Grey, excluding Durham and Newstead, pursuant to Bill 140, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. The reason that these are separate, Durham and Newstead have official plans and that aren't appealable, and the rest of West Grey, the other three municipalities, former municipalities, Bentinck, Glenelg, and Normanby, are under the county, so that's where we had to, why it has to be done in separate motions. For the same questions, Bev, you wanting to move to defer? And Deputy Mayor Bell will second. It'd be Resolution 109 to defer bylaw number 31, 2013 to a further date. Any questions on the motion to defer? Call the question. All those in favor of deferring? Any opposed? That is carried. All right. Put those with them, Mark. The last one, bylaw number 32, is a bylaw for zoning around the recreational trailer permits. This was also supported from the Planning Committee. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 32, 2013, being a bylaw to further amend zoning bylaw number 37, 2006, to incorporate provisions for recreational trailers pursuant to the trailer license bylaw, be now read a first, second, and third time as amended, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. The amendment was a couple of those wording issue, the one wording issue that Councillor Thompson had brought up earlier. Any other questions on this bylaw? Don, Councillor Marshall.
Just wondered how much of a problem this 2 hectares or greater in size is going to be. How many lots are out there that are only 1 acre that people have a trailer on that are going to be affected by that? Just throwing it out there. Why that's in there, that it has to be more than 2 hectares? Should ask Brian that question.
Yeah, what his thought was on that, I can't remember what the reasoning was that it went to a 5-acre parcel instead of something smaller. Mark?
I believe some of the rationale, just to give some isolation from other, maybe permanent dwellings and everything else. That sort of recreational nature of the larger parcel too. I believe that's the rationale for that.
John? Councillor Eccles?
Does that mean they're not permitted on below a 2 hectare lot?
Exactly. Now we don't, typically anymore, we don't sever anything below 2 acres, so. Councillor Lawrence, and this one's 2 hectares.
Yeah, that was my thought when I looked at that too. I thought, why do you have to have a piece of property that large? Because you may not sever it anymore, but there's pieces out there that are less than that people have bought for recreation, and I don't know why we would limit it to 2 hectares or more.
So what's the thought of council? I'm assuming as well that Mr. Marcel, when he was doing it, said that those severed building lots and not vacant property, the 2-acre lot that was out there was severed for building purposes, not as much recreation. But that doesn't mean that the 2-acre lot in the bush on concession 17 in Normanby wouldn't be considered very, would be considered secluded, so why wouldn't you put a trailer on it? Mark?
Was this something to do too, I'm trying to remember back when we discussed this with, like there is some subdivisions that have, that would, they didn't, we weren't looking at having trailers popping up through the subdivision, right? Is that, I think, part of the thinking there?
That might be it as well, too.
Yeah, because there's some out near Irish Lake there, I'm thinking specifically.
Yeah, there's the Gnaug Highlands. Another one would be the Allen Park Estates. We do have well, there's no more being recommended, but we still do have a couple of those rural residential. And yeah, I think maybe you're right on that one. Mark has gone to get the fee bylaw, and maybe it talks to it in there. Mark?
Yes, the trailer licensing fee bylaw, Part 3, Section 1, does note the 5-acre minimum provision in the A1, A2, or A3 zone. So that's what it's based on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think, Councillor Rapke, I think you mentioned about lots and plans of subdivision. Typically, they're zoned estate residential, ER, so they wouldn't be permitted on those plans of subdivision.
Bev?
That Brian said it was to minimize also complaints because of 5-acre lots. It's got space on either side for your neighbors to not, hopefully not visually see it from the road is basically what they're asking for, is it kind of gets tucked in somewhere, and he was hoping it would minimize neighbor distress and neighbor complaints.
Okay. Any other questions? Any thoughts? Seeing none, going to call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Further getting the word out.
Yep. And please, if anybody else is getting emails out there, this is not for residential. If somebody has a trailer that's, their uncle is coming up for a family reunion and the trailer's there for the weekend, this is not what this bylaw is addressing at all. They can still continue to do that with the enforcement the way it is.
Yeah, unless he moves in.
Well, there's not that many lakes out there that we need to worry about boats, but
I heard it all.
well, I thought I had heard it all until that one. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay. Very good. Any new? Let's move along. Count Bev.
I just have a question. Mark and I discussed about the peer review and sending a letter to next year. I wondered if you'd heard anything from?
I've had no response from the email and letter that was sent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John?
I was just going to say, I checked with Ken last Wednesday, Bev, before I went to the wind turbine meeting, and he hasn't heard from them since the meeting that we had in the room here. Hasn't, not a peep.
Very good. No news on that area would be good news. Further, go ahead, Bev.
Just one update. You're just right on the ball tonight. One update. Quebec government has now passed a 2-kilometer setback and for any receptor, and a 1-kilometer setback for any roads. Just so we're not off base by thinking that, we need to go down that road as well, so.
2 from receptors or 1 from road allowances?
From road allowance.
Not worried about that. Give it to us in committee of the whole. Okay. All right, any other new business? Thoughts? Addendums, notice of motion? Direct motions, I don't believe we have any. Closed sessions, there's none right now. Question period. Unless council has any questions, I'm afraid we're here pretty much all by our lonely selves. Municipal Act notices. Councillor Cutting, I'll take that you are seconding Mr. Mollison's motion to adjourn. Dave moves that we adjourn. Thank you very much. We'll stand adjourned until the next meeting.
Turn your mic on, Bev.